Nebraska. What the fuck is up on a Thursday? Oh, I know. You better fucking share this shit out right now. I am telling you, anywhere and everywhere, because it is time. Tonight, there are no commercials, and we're just going to straight up do this tonight, welcoming for the first time, and this is historic for Reapers Underground, in my opinion, the legendary bassist of Samhain and Danzig, and also a brilliant solo career, photographer, artist, in every stretch of the imagination. So share this out, wake motherfuckers up. I don't give a shit. We're here to have an awesome chat with EERIE motherfucking Vaughn. EERIE, how are you doing tonight?
Just fine. And how are you? Is it Mr. Reaper? Mr. Reaper? What was it? I don't know. You never actually said any, it's like, my name's Bob, but don't call me that.
Everybody knows me as Steve.
Do I have to say, well, Reaper? That was a long time ago, but, I just want to know how to address you.
Oh, no, you got it, brother. No, honestly, yeah, you can everybody calls me Reaper. It's been my stage name for better part of 15 years. So that's more than sufficient.
Okay, well, I won't directly address you then.
Babylon Sun says, Sir Reaper. No, I am not that cool. Oh. Don't call me that. Man, I'll tell you, growing up as a kid and how
you grow up as a kid.
How I first found you was Samhain. I happened to go to the local record shop, which pisses me off to this day that there are no record shops. There's a few.
There's some out there. You just got to find them.
For sure. And, especially in our town, we have to travel probably about 30 minutes to get to one. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah, we used to do that. We'd go an hour. We heard about a good store, and we lived right next to New York. So there was like, when we went record shopping, I was like, you want to go record shopping? So we'd go in and spend like the whole day. And there was like 5 in like a 5-block radius, and they were all really good. And then there was other ones, but you just had to keep going. So 30 minutes is nothing.
For sure. In all the stretch of the imagination. And, where I grew up in Nothing, Ohio, well, we had one place, which was called the Quonset Hut. They were like a weed smoke shop.
Where in Ohio was this? Because I spent a lot of time there in the 80s.
Canton, Ohio.
Canton, Football Hall of Fame.
That's right.
Thurman Munson from the Yankees.
Yes.
Canton, Ohio. Yeah, I was just in Columbus like a month ago.
Oh, no shit. All right. Yeah. Awesome. But yeah, I was just the little metalhead, aspiring drummer. My goal was to, become my heroes. And I came across the Initium album.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. This is amazeballs. Just from the cover, hadn't even heard it.
Well, that was part of the thing. We thought it was so awesome. It was like me going to be like, yeah, people are just going to see this in the rack and go, okay, I gotta get this, because that's what he did when he bought the first Black Sabbath record. He told me, he said, I got it because the cover was so cool, So we were like totally knew somebody was going to buy it because of that,
Yeah. I was into all things dark. I loved metal. Horror obviously is a huge part of my life. So it definitely stole the show for me. So I was like, yep, I'm buying this. Took it home. Fucking loved it.
Yeah, and it starts off with that really cool spoken word thing. You know, I mean, it's like, yeah, you look at the cover, you're hearing this, you're going, oh yeah, this is gonna be good.
Seriously, because my brother had introduced me to the Misfits. So I was like, all right, this is really cool stuff. And then I started doing some digging. And then that's when I found you in Samhain. And I was like, I like this even better. So what got you into that band? Let's just start right there.
Just, I was friends with Doyle. We went to school together, like middle school, that's 7th and 8th grade by us. Became friends. We're friends in high school. He told me his brother was in a band and stuff. And by high school, they had put out some records and stuff. So everybody knew. And then he eventually got in the band. And it was just like, yeah, it was perfect. It was great. And he was just like, I was always taking pictures. So that, like at school, you get out of class. If they need you to take pictures of the choir or whatever, or the, Wi-Fi club and stuff like, yeah. No, it was Try High Y. That's what it was. So I could get out of class. Oh, they need me, And then I shot all the games, football, basketball, baseball. So, and plus, you had a camera. It's an easy way to talk to women, It's just like, hey, baby, let me take your picture, stuff like that. So it was totally, at least in 8th grade, the most. It was just like, how do I get pictures of the pretty girls I like, So, but Doyle was just like, Glenn wants you to take pictures of us, or it was like you should take pictures of Misfits. I can't remember. And I was just like, yeah, sure, whenever. So it was kind of like, okay, like with the Misfits, it was always like right now, So it was like this Sunday. I was like, okay, great. So we did that. I met Glenn there. Got some really good pictures. Just I can't remember how we started talking. Oh yeah, I got his number for the photos because like he would like need to contact me or call me, whatever. So I got his number. I called him when Walk Among Us came out. I remember that because it was shortly after that. And I said, "Oh man, it's great. I think he did a really good job." And he just didn't know how to take that. He kind of just laughed and went, "Okay." I was like, "Dude, the record's awesome. It's so great." And so we just became friends, and we liked a lot of the same stuff. Plus, he's like 10 years older than me. So he was like that cool. He already went through a bunch of stuff. And he was like your cool uncle or your older brother that like, already had the cool records and, all the stuff and had experience and, been hanging out in the city, So we just became friends. And, we talked a lot about like everything. And when it came to like the bands, it was just like, yeah, so-and-so never shows up or doesn't care or isn't writing anything, and he would complain about whatever he was complaining about those guys, So it was, I was, I don't know, he was just like, we kind of agreed on what we wanted in a band and like how you should be dedicated and band should be really the only thing that matters. And that was just the way I looked at things. And he was just like, yeah, so it was just a natural thing. He goes like, I'm thinking about doing a new band and, do you want to do it? And I was just like, yeah, that'd be great. I said, my band, we already put out a record and then I didn't know what we were going to keep doing. Like it was, it's hard to keep a band together and everybody some people go to school, some people need to get a job, some people, get married, stuff like that. So I wanted to be a musician and I wanted to make this my career. And I was pretty sure that's what Glenn wanted too. Like he didn't care about anything else, really. Mm-hmm. And it was just a natural thing. And he says, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to tell those guys that I'm quitting the band or leaving the band or whatever it was. And then we'll come back and do the new thing. And I was just like, okay, great. And that was it. It was he did the last Halloween show, I guess, in like Detroit. I came back and he said, okay, when's a good time? And I already had gear and everything in the basement. I said, come by on Tuesday, whatever. And we started hashing it out. It was great. And I was just like, oh, awesome. You want to just keep playing, and you want to play with better people every time. Like, if you can get a better guitar player or a better drummer, and some guy, you bump into, he's a better drummer. You go, dude, you want to join my band? And you just change drummers or whatever. So it's like, you want to play with the best people. Glenn was the best guy in town,
That's what I'm saying. It's like, how could you pass up, the opportunity? Because the talent was fucking there. Everybody knew it. The Misfits really kind of like, made their mark, was the darkest part of punk rock, at that time. They were so different, so aggressive. And it's like, if people aren't showing up, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That, already got a name. And, and I'll tell you, in my own experience, it's hard to fucking keep people for the last 30 plus years. So I feel that, man. So, going forward, did you know that you were really kind of like creating something even bigger?
No, well, the Misfits weren't a big band. Nobody knew who Glenn was. It was one of those deals where, yeah, if you went on tour, you played to like 100 people, 200 people, if you were lucky. Like in all these, in the middle of nowhere, Kansas or whatever. Sometimes, and you mostly were playing for like 50 people, 25 people. That's all it was. So it was just a matter of fact of like, well, Glenn's already done all this great stuff. The Misfits stuff, I loved all that. And he's a great singer and he writes great songs. I was just like, I just want to do a band with this guy and see where it goes. Go to the next level. Because as far as I was concerned, the Misfits were just a bigger band than my band. That's about it, So it was just it was the right thing to do. Even one of my best friends was just like, yeah, you should go with Glenn, because he was, we were still doing Rosemary's Baby. And it was just like, yeah, you should go with Glenn. I was like, yeah, that's cool. It was no big deal. We didn't think about any of it. Glenn probably had some master plan, that he had been thinking about all through the Misfits, If I could only be, the guy who the guy who pulls the strings. So he probably had some master plan, but it never felt like that. It was just, we just kept learning the songs, record the songs, go on tour, just get better as a band, come up with new stuff and just keep going and want to keep making records. And each time you hope you just get up a little bit bigger, more people show up to your shows, you can get better guarantees. It means we can go on tour. Because you had to rent a truck or you had to buy a truck, and or a van, and then you had to see how much you could get out of people, like to put on a show at the VFW in Wisconsin.
Oh fuck yeah! I mean, to do that in the last 20 years, let me tell you, it's like nobody wants to pay fucking nothing. If they ain't heard of you, they ain't paying for you. You know what I mean?
The problem is, you have to deal with clubs. We dealt with like regular people. Like if wherever you're living, this is the way it worked. Call you and go, hey, dude, isn't there like a Moose Lodge, VFW, or some kind of hall that we can just rent out for like $200 and we'll charge $5 at the door, try to get like 100 people, 200 people, we'll pay for the hall. The PA will be this much, and then whatever's left, you give the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So It wasn't like these people weren't trying to make money. They just wanted to see. Easiest way to see your favorite band was to just book them. If you told Black Flag you were having a barbecue, and they would eat, and they give you like $20, they'd show up. It was just like that. It was real grassroots. And we almost never played clubs. If we did, it was probably some local promoter who was probably our age or younger, just getting the club to let them, put on the show. But most of the stuff was like rented halls, which is great because then nobody can stop you.
Oh, most
def. You used to tell the guys, we're having a dance, Like, oh, well, yeah, no, we're not going to serve beer or nothing, which, was the easiest way to get it over on people, but no alcohol. You can let all the kids in too, so, just, oh, we're having a dance. We're going to play some music, some records, and you never say, oh, it's a punk rock show or a hardcore show. And then, most of the time you didn't get in trouble. So, everybody was happy. And if you made some money, then you say, let's do it again, like 6 months from now. And then you do it again. Then it becomes part of the network, and it was great. You go, hey, do you know anybody? We're heading towards Pittsburgh. Do you know anybody in Pittsburgh? Yeah, I got a guy. And he give you the number. And that's how it worked. That's, Glenn learned all that stuff with the Misfits. So by the time we got to Samhain, he had like a Rolodex, he had a notebook of all these numbers. He could just call these people, and if they weren't doing it, it'd be somebody else, took over.
Mm-hmm.
So it was real small. Nobody knew. It was the same, like I said, same 200 people you'd see in Ohio, in like Maumee, where the Necros are from, But
wow. So were you already playing punk music kind of like before you got into Samhain?
Yeah, I had my own band. We were doing hardcore. Like Fast As You Could hardcore. Like, we like the Boston bands from that time, like Gang.
Oh man.
Stuff.
There's still some heavy hitters coming out of there too. Even in recent years. I'm like, holy shit, that like you said, grassroots fucking hardcore bands, that shit never dies.
People say, oh, there's no punk rock or no scene anymore. I'm like, yes, there is. You just don't know about it.
Exactly.
I'm like, there is. And just the way it was back then. People looked at us like we were insane. We used to shave our heads, just the way we looked, whatever. It was a whole nother world they had no idea about. And when I put out the first record for my band, guys in high school were asking me like, well, what record company are you on? And all they knew was like Led Zeppelin. It had to be signed to a record company, and that's how you became a rock star. And I was just like, no, man, you just pay for everything, and you just go get the records made, and then you sell them at stores, and that's what you do. And they were like dumbfounded. I was just like, you don't need a record company. You just do all this stuff. So that's how I asked Glenn what to do, because he had already done it like 10 times. And he gave me all the numbers, said, talk to this guy, go to this place, whatever. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm writing all this shit down,
Hell yeah.
So he already knew all this stuff. So that was part of him being, older, that he had already gone through this shit for like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years now already, So
yeah,
it was
doubt.
Pretty easy, because we could get people to show up because it would say ex-Misfits. And it was the same thing as it is now. It was people who just missed the Misfits and said, shit, I was going to go see them. And they broke up. And so now I'd be like, well, we'll go at least see these guys. Maybe they'll play some Misfit songs. And that was the truth. That's what we did,
Oh, wow. And I mean, it's like, it's so diverse too. I mean, because, Samhain's style of punk was a little bit more explorative. And I think that's what I really loved about it. I mean, there was the time where one song was, completely sung in Latin. And it just fucking blew me away, because I'm like, I don't know how to fucking read Latin. And I didn't even know that it was in Latin. I thought I just couldn't understand the words.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the whole thing. If you could find something, it's not like you can run down and get it translated. Or it's like, hey, yeah, I wrote this thing. Can I have it in Latin? You could do that now, probably. It was like, well, I think you're talking about Halloween, Halloween 2. That was originally a Misfit song.
Yeah.
Glenn told me it was a werewolf chant, like he found it in a book, or he was in New York in some dusty old bookstore, sort of like a Harry Potter thing, looking through the occult section, and doing all this stuff. And they're like, hey, kid, get out of here, whatever.
Right.
He found this, he said it was a Latin werewolf chant. So I think he just did it phonetically. I don't even know. Nobody from Latin has ever come and said, oh, he didn't say that word right. So, nobody's really. Eventually, when there's a thesis at some college on, Glenn's whole, written, catalog, they'll be going, well, he was interesting that he used this particular enunciation because, whatever.
Yeah.
People do.
Still, nobody else was doing that. Nobody, even like in the punk genre at that time was really doing what you guys were doing, because it was so much darker. Um, you
Yeah, it
know,
was more goth too in there too,
yeah,
because that was at the time that was what's going on. We listened to that stuff too. You know, we dug that shit, and that stuff was seeping in. I mean, probably didn't think about it much, but at the time, if you think something's cool, you're just gonna want to do a song like that, or you're gonna want to play like that. For it's not like a big thing. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna do a song that sounds like this. It just kind of happens. So that the gothy part was in there, and the punk thing is always there. It's still there. It's like it's the whole attitude. So you take a little bit of the Misfits, you take a little bit more of Lost Books of the Bible and Forgotten Books of Eden, and a little more throw that in, and you get this more super weird, dark, gothy kind of thing. We didn't even know what it was called anymore. But we still were like a punk band as far as we thought.
for sure, but without the fangs. You weren't trying to be the Lost Boys. you know, it was just darker.
I was always wanted to be in the Misfits anyway, so I was just like, I'm just going to keep doing this look. And Glenn never said, "Oh, I don't want any devil locks or whatever," and he never said nothing, so I just kept doing it.
Oh man, but you wore it well. You totally fucking did. I thought that shit was badass. As did everybody else.
You got to work at it. Not everybody can wear a devil lock. I'm telling you, I've seen some really bad ones.
I can honestly say I tried and I failed.
Everybody did.
But I could grow sideburns at 13, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna grow them fucking mutton chops out. I love it. Let's see here. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any questions. There is one question from Kyler. He was wondering what your favorite bass line to play is.
Oh, we don't really have bass lines. I was just basically doing, eighth notes, Dee Ramone style for even through Danzig. Bass lines. I can't think of any. What bass lines did we have? Oh, we had that one for Bodies. It's just times. That one. But the rest of it, they were all progressions. They weren't bass lines, or they were just rhythm parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I loved all that shit. But the one of the Samhain ones that was weird was hard to play was a Human Pony Girl, because I basically had to slide the entire time, and it's just like my hands are killing me. I was like putting duct tape around my fingers and shit, just trying to get it for a good take or whatever. But no, I liked all the songs. Everything we did. I don't think there's like maybe one or two Danzig songs I didn't like so much, but they were all awesome as far as I was concerned.
I was, and that's funny. I was going to bring that up later. That opening line to Bodies, when I saw that on the Demonia home video, I was like, dude, that is the coolest fucking bluesy fucking intro to any song, especially a metal song. It just oozed fucking badassery. I loved it.
It's cool. It was always a fun song to play because we just would go off on it,
Oh yeah.
Just like that video, that was just the way it was. We that's the way it's funny. When we rehearsed and stuff, that's the way we rehearsed. We were like, we didn't sit around and run through the songs. No, we did them like, we do half speed, and then we go, okay, let's do game speed, which means, we were getting ready to do a tour or a show or whatever. But we used to go crazy in rehearsals too, even in Samhain. it was just like, I don't know. But that's a pretty good, if you see any of that stuff, or, well, the Live Mother video, you can kind of see, but that one is pretty good where you can see how we actually were.
Absolutely. Another quick question is, how old were you when you started playing?
I started playing the drums when I was probably 8 or 9.
Nice.
And I went down to like the local boys club. They had a fife and drum corps. And one of my best friends was like a superstar in the fife and drum corps, just a great drummer. So he was, I could get a ride with him, and he'd go down there, and his teacher would teach you. So it's probably 8, 9, 10. I can't remember. It seemed it was a pretty long time ago, and then kind of got off it, and then back at the high school, I was kind of always thinking, well, the Misfits always need a drummer. It seemed like drummers were just coming and going.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So I started playing that stuff, and Doyle made me some tapes. I would just sit my headphones on. So started playing drums more seriously, like 14, 15, all the way up until I started playing the bass. It's like, I don't know. I think it was 84. I was graduating 18. I was about 20 when we did Samhain, I think. Not sure. 19 to 20. So,
Nice. So you kind of just do it all. I say you kind of just do it all, don't you?
Yeah, I can fuck with most of the stuff. I can fake a lot of shit, but I'm not great at any of it, but I can. As my dad would say, I'm a jerk of all trades.
I don't know, man. I could never, and I've tried. I have tried to play the bass. I can play a little bit of a little bit. That's about it. But for me, my instruments mainly the drums. That's what I've been doing the past 30 years, and then I can play some piano. I don't know why. I think it was a college thing that I was able to actually play, but I haven't played in a long time. But man,
well, you see, you're a percussive guy. People who play the drums have some sort of inner turmoil they're trying to work out, and the piano is also a percussive instrument.
It is
the piano, so it's like you probably need some therapy.
Oh, trust me, if you saw how I looked right now, I'm sure everyone thinks I need to get some therapy.
Yeah, what do they know?
Exactly. Fuck therapists. I don't believe in that shit.
Yeah, I already know what my problem is. I'm not wasting time, money, telling somebody else. I'm like, I already know what's wrong with me, so I don't need somebody to tell. Why do I do these things? I'm like, I know exactly why I do these things.
Exactly.
Yeah, just more together than some of you people,
For sure. Kyler says, Reaper, get some help. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, fuck that. I need Satan.
Kyler, that's like remember that Beavis and Butthead episode where the guy had killer written on his forehead?
Yep.
And they were looking at it and they kept calling him Kyler.
Yep.
Yeah. At first, as soon as you said that, I'm like, Beavis and Butthead. Like 1 second, I was right there. Kyler.
So the one question that I'm sure a lot of everybody out there wants to know is, what did you guys use for the blood? Because in Samhain, you guys would normally kind of come out covered in blood. What did you guys actually use?
Oh, Glenn wanted to do the blood thing with the Misfits, and he said they weren't into it. So I was just like, I'm totally into it.
The hell's wrong with that?
Yeah, I want to do that. So we were like, well, we want to do the carry thing, have it dumped on us. We're going to come out, we're going to stand there, and the blood's going to fall on us and be awesome, right? So we're trying to work that out, and we get to Chicago at the Metro. It's going to be like the last show. Glenn goes, I want to do the blood thing, and so we get there. There's nowhere. The way they had their truss set up, there was nowhere right over the stage where the buckets could be dropped on. So right away, we can't do that. Okay, then we tried to go down and just go to a slaughterhouse. We're in Chicago. And just get as much blood as we could. We figured we could do this. Who knew if you could or not? But it made sense to us. So it's like, yeah, we'll just go down and get a couple gallons of blood. But no big deal. But then it turned out to be Sunday. And then it was like, oh, shit. Now what do we do? Like, well, we don't have to do it. It's not like we told anybody. This is going to be a total surprise, Like we only did one show covered in blood. And then we did an encore. Other than that, we didn't do it all the time. It was like, I would have went insane if we did that every night. So we went to the grocery store and Glenn goes, we're going to use the blood that they use in like all the horror movies and stuff. He goes, I got the recipe. And I'm like, awesome. I was like, okay, cool. So we just went to the grocery store. We got a bunch of Carol syrup and we got to get food coloring. And then Glenn, was sitting there and he puts the red in with the little dropper thingies. And then he's like, you got to put in just the right amount of yellow or it looks too like candy apple.
Right.
Stupid. So you had to put just enough yellow, and then we just mixed it up in the bottles, the Caro syrup. Just used the bottles, and just got it to like it looked really cool. We just dumped it on each other, and that was it. And we just walked out, and people were just like, "Holy shit!" And I had a rubber eyeball in my mouth, and I spit it out with blood and stuff.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
It was just cool. It was just great because I'd never seen anybody do that. I mean, I thought the Gene Simmons thing where he does his bass solo and spits blood was pretty cool, but I didn't really like Kiss, but that was pretty cool. And the Carrie thing was just so awesome, and it was just and all the pictures of her just with those big eyes and she's all covered in blood, or when she walks down the stairs, it's so awesome. And I was like, that's what it should be with us. We did it on the record. It should be like in person. It would be so much cooler. So it was great, but it got all sticky and it was hard to play, and I had to keep pouring water on my hands and stuff. And, but it looked great. Too bad we didn't have like good lighting. Back then, punk rock lighting just like, here's the band's here, turn all the lights on.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, JD Stories out there in the comment section, he said, and we're sticky all night.
Yeah, well, we did it once. It was one of the last. It was either the last Samhain show or the second to last one. We did it just for the encore, and Glenn must have said something to me before, or so we had to go get the stuff, or he was going to have it. So we just did it as what the hell? It's New York. We love playing the Ritz. It was like just the best place. And it was just
Classic.
like, let's do it. And it just went crazy. And the people were rubbing it all over themselves. So it was totally cool.
It was one big blood orgy.
Yeah. Just like we were talking about doing that kind of stuff for like videos for the band.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff I wanted to do. I'm like, we should just do porn. Just some kind of crazy, just like sort of something like out of Angel Heart, like that big orgy and all the blood in that one scene. I'm like, that's the kind of stuff we should do.
I mean, from a marketing standpoint, it doesn't get better than that.
We didn't give a rat's ass about that. We weren't trying to sell records. We just wanted to do cool stuff, and if people wanted to come along, that's great. But other than that, it was never like we never sat down and said, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." It was just kind of like, "Hey, we should do this," and like, "Yeah," and that was it. And then we just go off and do something, or we're going to do this and that. It was just spur of the moment. All the good shit just came out and said, "Oh, this is a cool idea,"
Honestly, I think if more bands today, and yes, out there in Black Flame Land, I'm telling you, try it. I don't give a shit if it's cheesy. Don't fucking worry about it. Every band today is worried about putting a shtick together and like, how can I market this? What label do I fit? As far as genres of metal, you just heard it from a fucking legend. We did it because it was fun. And that just makes it all the better for me.
If somebody else was doing something that we knew, friends of ours and other bands, and we didn't think it was cool, we're like, it was just, that's okay, but, we don't think that or whatever. But no, we were just doing what we liked, what we thought was cool. And if you don't like it, then you just don't get it. That was the whole thing. And, it was pretty much fuck you if you don't like it, but in a nicer way. It's just like, you'll get it eventually. Yeah, it only took like 40 years of people, figured it out. It's just like, this stuff is really cool. It was cool back then, and that's why Glenn used to get mad. I remember during Danzig, when people would ask him about the Misfits, he would get mad. I think it's even, there's even on MTV, Ricky Rackman asked him,
oh,
it's actually on film.
I remember that.
And, he says, the magazines were around back then. I remember him. He used to say this all the time. It was one of the things that really pushed his button. He's like, people should have been paying attention to the Misfits back then. And Samhain said that stuff was great. And now you want to know about it, and all those bands are gone. And that's the same thing that happened with like Bauhaus and a lot of great bands that just about they couldn't survive because they weren't selling enough records or whatever. And then the press could have helped them. And could have been on their side but no, once they go under, a year later, they're like, oh, they were so great and all this stuff. And everybody starts to, say, oh, yeah, and all this stuff. Yeah, nobody knew about it. That really used to piss him off. It pisses me off too. There's a lot of great bands that nobody heard about, and they couldn't survive. And it's like, it's all your fault. You people should have been buying the record.
Yeah, exactly. Sisters of Mercy, any of those guys, it's like, people wonder what the hell happened to them. Well, shit, that's why I'm always saying, fuck the mainstream. Fuck them. They literally destroy everything.
Yeah, I don't know why people even consider that. None of those people live on my planet. I don't even know anything about them. It's like, I do what I want, and what my people I like to hang out with, what they like. It's like, yeah, we're just doing our own thing, and everybody else can do their own thing. Don't worry about that. And that's how you do good stuff, or you at least have fun and you have a good time, and not worrying about trying to compete with somebody or figuring out what records you got to make, because as soon as you think or you try to do what somebody else is doing, it's already passed. You're 6 months or a year too late. Anything that's a hit right now was probably done a year ago. So you can never tell, and you shouldn't care.
Oh, most fucking deaf, man. So there was a unreleased tracks of Samhain album that was released much later, obviously. Was that the first time that John Christ showed up?
There was a lost tracks at Danzig. There's no Samhain songs. There was some demos, but no actual real recordings that were ever left. That's why you didn't get any extra Samhain songs on, like when we went to CDs and stuff. Yeah, there was some demos. I don't think John's on any of those.
Oh, okay.
He came in like '87, joined the band, and it was still Samhain. And Glenn wanted him to do some overdubs on a couple of songs for whatever record he and I were working on, and that was some of those demos probably made it out. I don't remember having listened to it in a long time. But yeah, John, I'm having little flashbacks of John playing on this one song that kind of reminded me of Green Hill. A lot of downstrumming for a long period of time with nothing going on. It's really hard to play. Yeah, The Birthing, that's what it was called, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, he was on that and a couple other things, and that's probably on that Final Descent record. But yeah,
that's it.
First,
The Final Descent. I was racking my fucking brain for the title. Thank you.
Yeah, he showed up first before Chuck,
and
he was there for a couple of months, I think. It's hard to remember, but yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, once Chuck got there, they lived together because that was just easier. So John lived by himself in this one apartment. I'm trying to remember, somewhere in Jersey, close enough to me and Glenn, and he hated it. And we used to go to the gym, and yeah, he did work on a couple of Samhain stuff. And then we got Chuck like a month or two after that, and they moved in together. But the band was still Samhain the whole time. We weren't going to change the name, or we never even talked about it. So that just came after after a little while. It was probably Rick's idea, Just sort of like, I remember him giving me, talking, pulling me aside, and I had my makeup and devil lock on and stuff. And because when we did all the auditions for guitar and stuff, I just put on my makeup and stuff like we're going to do pictures or whatever. So, and this was pretty much like, yeah, this is serious. So don't fuck around. You want to be in this band. This is what it might still be, because I don't know. I probably was going to cut off my devil lock, or I did soon after. But Rick says, "Don't you think this whole look is going to alienate people? It's like, the blood, all this stuff." He goes, "Don't you want as many people as possible to hear your music?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, about all this, some people are not going to listen if they don't like the way you look." And I was just like, I'm like 22, I don't know, I forget what I was, 23, but I certainly wasn't really open-minded. And I was just like, yeah, go fuck yourself, whatever. But no, I I took it into consideration. I mean, how can you not go home and go, well, Rick's really successful and he must know what he's talking about because, you know, he's put out all these records and people actually like him and stuff. And what do I know? You know, I don't think I ever talked to Glenn and said, hey, Glenn, what do you want to do about this? What are we going to do? What, you know, how are we going to look? We never talked about that stuff. So I was just like, eventually I was like, yeah, I do want to sell records because I want as many people as possible to be infected by this, you know?
Fuck yeah.
And that was the whole point. Yeah, you can be great, but if nobody ever hears you, what the hell? You know, it's just so much better for people. I'd rather have people go, yeah, man, I bought your record. It was terrible. You used to say, yeah, thanks for buying the record, man. You know, so I think I eventually cut my devil lock off after that. And he just put that bug in my ear. And I was like, yeah, you know, I think I'm getting a little old for this. And I want to be taken seriously. And I don't know if I'll be taken seriously like this. So I just cut my devil lock off, but I kept wearing makeup and stuff. And, you know, the early pictures, I look really like a fish out of water. You know, it's like really strange. I'm still stuck in the goth thing. And John's got like metal hair and Chuck's got long hair and Glenn's just looking like, I don't know, but, you know.
I think at that point, Glenn was like starting to grow his hair out a little bit more.
Yeah, he got
like all the way around.
Pretty long for around, you know, Lucifuge. He was probably shoulder length. And,
yeah.
You know, and he was, of course, he's going them sideburns down to his fucking, you know, tits. You know, he's just like, they were really long at one point, and then he just cut them back off. But yeah, that was the whole Wolverine thing.
I was gonna say, I'm sure he was trying to emulate one of his comic heroes.
Oh yeah, totally. He's a total Wolverine guy.
That's okay, because when I saw him, I did it too.
Oh yeah, well, by the time we were hanging out with Ruben, see, I had already been doing the big Elvis sideburns at the end of Samhain, and I was just, because I was an Elvis guy, and I was just like, yeah, I'm fucking doing it.
I'm an Elvis guy too.
So I just continued, and Ruben always wanted us to be one of those big 70s bands, you know, like Led Zeppelin and Allman Brothers they all had big sideburns and
hell yeah,
facial hair and shit. And so I was like, well, I'm already fucking there. I already got the sideburns. I just stopped shaving, you know.
Hell yeah.
It was great.
I mean, I'm still stuck in the 70s myself. I'll probably be 70s for life, but you know, the only problem is the rest of my head's afraid to grow hair. So
in the 70s, everybody was pretty hairy.
Yep. Absolutely. There is a question out there from the comment section. Babylon Sun is a band, and they're very interested in what was your bass, and did you use any effects with it?
Oh, I played Fender Jazz basses. I still do. Straight into a Ampeg head with an SVT cabinet. No effects, no nothing. In Samhain, if we did any effects, we would have had, it would have been like in the board, like if we were doing a mix, you put something on, but probably didn't do anything there. Put some effects on the guitars, but I think I used a Rat distortion box for like the real heavy, crunchy bass for Halloween 2. So that was the only effect I had, and I still have that box somewhere. Just Rat distortion. But otherwise, Fender Jazz bass plugged right into the cabinet, and just tell the guy, and we're running the PA to make it louder.
Hell yeah. There's nothing better than that raw, thick sound that a lot of metal bands just didn't have. So how did this all evolve towards, because you got Rick Rubin talking to you and shit, how did this evolve into what we know today as Danzig?
Well, it was just the whole thing. It was, we did a couple, there was the Ritz, there used to be a thing called the New Music Seminar. It was kind of like South by Southwest, but it was only like one night or two nights, and it'd be like some up and coming bands or bands that had already played, you know, that were, you know, something to pay attention to. So we did one of those, and then we had like another show for soon after, for whatever reason, I can't remember. And like Ruben had people's ear on the street. He had a metal guy in his entourage, heavy metal Scott. So he probably heard, and then George Jakulius, who was his assistant, or I don't remember what he was, but he's a producer. He probably heard about him. But I think Scott Koenig probably said, "Hey, there's this band you should check out. I saw them last month at the Ritz. They were great," or whatever. So he came to the gig, and it was just one of those things. And he was just like, "You guys were incredible." Like, hands you a business card, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah." Anyway, so like he's talking to Glenn. He goes, "I want to, we should go out to dinner and talk about this. I think the band's amazing." I think he probably had already done Slayer. He was going to do Slayer. I think he had already done. I think he had Slayer, and all the rest was all rap. And he wanted to start doing guitar stuff and just be, other bands, that kind, kind of music. So he wanted to add us to the roster, and that was it. Then he started working with the Cult. So we went down, and I was there when they recorded that Love Removal Machine song at Hendrix's studio on 8th Street. What was it? Electric Lady. Yeah, that was cool. So he just was interested in the band, and he's, that's what he's doing. He's still doing it. He loves music, so he just wanted to get in on it, and so that was it. The series of dinners and lunches and rehearsals and things like that, and then eventually we were at this place called Exterminator Chili in New York for somebody's record release or something, I can't remember. And so him and Rick are sitting in a booth, and we said, "Sit down, guys," and we sit down, and he goes, "Thinking about changing the name of the band to Danzig." And I said, "Ooh, like Bon Jovi." That was the first thing I said. And he said the same thing, sort of, and I'm paraphrasing. It's kind of like, well, you've already got this reputation as Samhain. The people are going to think Blood. They're going to think Devilux, Misfits. We want a bigger audience, that kind of thing, And I was just like, yeah, who cares? I told Glenn when we started Samhain, I said, "Don't you think, since you're Glenn from the Misfits, don't you think you should be Glenn Danzig, or just Glenn Danzig?" He goes, "No, I want to do a band." And I was like, "Yeah, what about Glenn Danzig and the Archangels?" Because we had that one song. I was like, right. Cool. And he's like, "No, I want a band." I was like, "Okay." So that's, that band became the same band, just changed two guys. So it was always the same band, and then when that band broke up, that's Glenn went off and, has whoever he has playing for the last 25 years or whatever. But yeah, we just changed the band name so we could kind of start fresh. Like, this is a new thing. Don't want any of the old baggage, and, just let people take it for what it is, which was good because we got a whole lot more people that never would have heard of us, so that was good. But we wanted to be, well, everybody kept saying we're going to be the next Metallica and all that. I was like, yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, sure. I mean, they were hot as fuck at the time.
Yeah, well, 88, yeah. Well, they just putting out And Justice for All.
That was a killer record.
Yeah, I heard that record before it came out on a cassette.
Hell yeah. I miss those days, man. I miss those days. Love cassette.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of good stuff, coming out. It's just, sometimes when you get older, you start getting that it's not as good as it was in my day. And I'm like, I'm not going to be that grumpy old man, get off my lawn, kids type thing. Now I'm keeping that ball, whatever. I think it's fine. Let the younger generation do their thing. It's their time. So they, we had our time, and, it's like, let them do it. And I'm fine with it. I hear a lot of good stuff. I don't know what any of it's called or who it is, but I hear plenty of good stuff. Every once in a while, the old lady plays a lot of music. It's a lot of real heavy stuff.
Nice.
It's just emotional, a lot of real emotional stuff. And then there's all of, just punk rock all the time, So, yeah, there's still people still making some great music.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm sure, a lot of my viewers out there are also wondering this. What was it like recording that first record? It's so iconic. Every song front to back. There's not a single song that anyone would ever flip past on that self-titled record.
Yeah, that's a good record. I hated the production. So did John. It was too dry. It sounded too much like that Cult record that came out like 6 months before it.
I kind of felt the same way, because there was a huge difference between that and Danzig 2.
Yeah, it was, well, see, the Misfits and Samhain were like more, spooky, reverb, that kind of shit. And we still like that. So Rick was just doing what he did with the Cult, which is just strip away everything and just leave the bare bones. But I like reverb on the snare. I like vocals with a little reverb on them. Come on, that's just what I like, and that's what Glenn liked too at the time. And it just came out really dry, and it just I just didn't like the mix. But the songs are great, and they were fun to play. But we recorded I'm not sure if we recorded all of them at this one studio, and we stopped recording because Chuck broke his kick pedal. And
holy shit!
And we couldn't find one of the ones that he liked. Like, he had a specific pedal. I got a picture of it in my book, but that when I looked at it one time, I was like, I'm not sure that's the pedal I remember, because he played his Ludwig Speed King.
Oh, I remember that.
I remember. It's just Charlie Watts had one. I saw it that Stone thing. I said, hey, that's Chuck's pedal.
I had one too.
But yeah, his pedal broke, and we had to hunt around for one so we could start up. But we recorded that. It's the first album. It's Sorcerer Sounds on Mercer Street, and we wound up scrapping the whole thing except for the take of Mother, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. And then we recorded the whole thing at somewhere else, and I don't remember where the hell else we recorded. But yeah, the thing I remember the most was the overdubs that, like, Rick wanted me to sit there and play Am I Demon until it was perfect. And I was like, we don't do that.
No, you guys are a live band.
Yeah, like, see, it's all about the feel and the groove.
Yeah.
That's why you all play live in the studio. And we get the groove, and we're mainly going for a great drum track, and then we most likely keep the bass too, and then John could overdub to his heart's content or whatever. But he wanted me to sit there and play, you know how hard that song is to play in the first place.
Oh, brother, I could only imagine.
It's a workout, and you have to play it every day, over and over and over again, until it becomes so easy you're not even thinking about it.
Right.
But in the studio, you got to do it. And I did it like 8 or 10 times. I said, no, forget it. That's enough. I don't want to do it anymore. That's fine. Or, they could piece it together if they had to, probably. But I was just like, no, you're killing it. So that's what I can remember. That I didn't agree with, like, the way Rick wanted to make the record, and there's a lot of things Glenn didn't agree with him on, and we basically gave Rick no respect at all.
Rightfully so. God damn it!
He hadn't turned into, the Rick Buddha that he is now. Back then, I was certainly not smart enough musically to be able to sit and talk to him about things or why it was necessary to do this or that. Of course, now I know so much more, and I could easily understand what he was talking about. But back then, he was just like, all he ever did was rap, and some of it was good, and we just didn't really, we didn't think he was any big deal, So the first record was hard. The second record was much easier, and it came out more sounding like I think we sounded at the time, a little spookier.
Yeah, a little bit of mystery. Definitely.
Yeah, I just like the production better because that's how we sounded,
Yeah, it was like night and day too.
Yeah, I would love to have a remix on the first album.
That would be something. And then there was the monolith of Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. One of the most powerful fucking records that just catapulted me into just more addiction to what you guys were doing. Just amazing. I mean, Chuck Biscuits was definitely a huge influence on me. Still a huge influence, I think, on a lot of drummers that are
Yeah,
even.
I hope so.
Yeah, I would fucking hope so too, because that man made a small drum kit sound huge. I don't give a shit what people were doing with, double kick pedal and or two bass drums at the time. It was just amazing. And you guys were so tight. I think a lot of bands today just don't have that kind of tightness. Because
we rehearsed the shit out of the stuff.
oh, you did.
We rehearsed 3 times a week for like 3 hours at a time. And John and I went to the gym every day, and we were very tight. By the time we got to like Danzig 3, we recorded the whole. We recorded 14 tracks in 4 days. We got like 3 or 4 songs a day or something like that.
Wow.
It was like at least 3 songs a day, and they were all like first or second takes. And it was just, the band was really good. We were just really, wanted to play really well, and we played really well together. It was really easy to play with those guys, like from early on, like very early. I can remember us just being it. We only had a few songs, and the rest of them we played some Misfit songs or whatever. But we seemed to be able to play with each other well. So once we kind of figured out what everybody was doing, then it would just be like making records. We're just like, well, we'll just do this like we usually do, or we'll do this, and at the end we'll Danzig it up, or whatever, just do that. So yeah, this How the Gods Kill was fun because we were in another great studio in LA, and it had this big giant room with a huge screen, and we could put anything we wanted on the screen. So we had the Playboy channel on the screen for a lot of it. That was always fun.
Holy shit balls.
But it was really cool. I can't remember what, it's one of those like famous studios, like that's, where you'd run into, famous people. But, yeah, that was really good. That was the band at the like top of their game. That's the way we sounded. Like live, we sounded like that in rehearsal. Basically, all you had to do was make us louder. That's just the way we sounded. And that's what our sound man always used to say. He goes, because he heard us rehearsing, every other day, and he said, "Bro, I just make you sound like you sound, only louder." and that was the band did its best on that record, and and on that tour, it was just, yeah, we were really cooking at that time.
What was your favorite place to tour? Like, between America or any of the other countries?
No, I just like America. Yeah, it was up to me. I'd be on a bus playing like theaters, for the rest of my life. I don't care about going. I don't want to go overseas. Went once, twice, couple times. Don't like flying anymore anyway. So
I feel that on a spiritual level.
Forever.
I feel that on a spiritual level. I am not an airplane fan. My wife does it with no problem, but me, I this is the only time you'll see Reaper fucking just be like, I am a Viking. I belong on the ground or in the ocean. I can do that. Fly me? No.
Yeah. I mean, plus, I'm American. I am used to what I'm used to.
I feel that.
I want to know that I can pull into a truck stop at 4:00 in the morning and get whatever I want.
Exactly.
Or I can eat. I can play pinball. I can get a soda, whatever. I want to know this is 7-Eleven around the corner. It's always open.
Right.
Stuff like that. So yeah.
What was probably the favorite band or tour that you've done?
Oh, there's so many of them. The first Metallica tour was okay, but it was the first time we were just like thrown into Europe, so that's one of the reasons I don't feel like I ever have to go again. But the Typo Negative tour was great. The tour we did with Soundgarden was amazing. It's like you could just think about, you could see Soundgarden every night for a month if you wanted.
Wow.
You know? And same thing with Typo. It's like I would go watch them every night, and even if I wasn't watching them, I was listening to them. You know, what the White Zombie tour we did like a month or so in Europe with them. That was really cool. And I can't remember. We did some stuff in the States after that. That was really cool. Got to be friends with Rob and Shauna. It was great.
That's incredible.
Oh, we had Kai. We brought Caius out.
Fuck yeah!
They were all like 18-year-old kids and stuff. That was great. That was so cool. And our sound man wound up being their sound guy, like for the tour. He just mixed them for free. It was great.
Wow.
Who else? I'm trying to think. Oh, the Marilyn Manson tour was hysterical. But I was already like, I was like already over it by then, and plus, I wasn't running around and doing crazy stuff like they were. But
you didn't have to, man.
White Zombie and Typo Negative tours were all really, really great, And that first Metallica tour was fun because those guys weren't big yet. So they were still playing smaller places, even in Europe. We only played like one arena. It was like half empty. And we played clubs mostly with them and like, halls, mostly in Europe, especially like when we played in Ireland. It's just like a big hall in the middle of nowhere, So we could walk around with those guys and they were getting bigger. Like you could feel it, but they weren't sure how it was going to happen or whatever was going on. So it was fun and, fun to, all the fans following you around when you're just going out to get a hamburger or something. And they would sit there and look out the window, watch you eating fries, and me and Kirk and James, it's just like, yeah, throw a burger at that person, whatever. So that tour had its fun moments. And it was our first time, so it was kind of cool. Those guys, we had known them since, I don't know, a couple of years before, like 85, I think I met those guys. And so they could tell us what was going to happen or what might happen or what you do when you get to this level and then the next level. So it was pretty cool watching them become a big band, Oh,
absolutely.
Jesus Christ, 40-something years later, I can't believe they're still playing.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, they're just unbelievable. Like, it's just great,
Damn. I honestly have to say, my parents kept me from coming to see you play for a very long time. It wasn't until I graduated Rob was about to graduate in 95. And I caught you guys finally for the first time on the Danzig 4 tour. And that was, you mentioned it was with Marilyn Manson and Korn before anybody knew who those motherfuckers were.
Yeah. Glenn used to always want to try to bring bands out that he thought should be heard,
Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, that was just probably the most memorable concert tour I've ever seen. And of course, you guys came out and just fucking destroyed. But so, and then since then, you've managed to put out a couple of solo records that I've really enjoyed as well. And I want to make sure that we get the listeners to know exactly what those are. The first one you put out was The Blood and the Body. What a fucking amazing record. Did you, I have to ask, did you do everything yourself?
Yeah. Well, I put out a record with a friend of mine before that. It was just a soundtrack type record called Uneasy Listening. And that was just like 8 songs. Just he and I just went in the studio and pretty much made like a soundtrack to a movie that, didn't exist. But
nothing wrong with that.
Each song had like told a story through the sound effects and the music, so you could just, as you listen, you create your own movie. That was the whole point of it. So yeah, I did The Blood and the Body, and everything else since then. I played everything because I was, nobody else was there, So yeah, I recorded The Blood and the Body on a 4-track, like cassette tape player, like in a closet in like on Coldwater Canyon in L.A. I was
Nice.
in like a 1-bedroom. Not even was a single. It wasn't even a 1-bedroom. And recorded the whole thing. And all I had was an acoustic guitar, a distortion box, a mic, and a microphone, and that's it. And but it was an acoustic electric, so I could plug it in, and then I put distortion on it and stuff, and I could make it sound almost like electric guitar.
Oh,
But
it sounded amazing.
Any drums? Oh, I had a keyboard too. I went to Toys R Us and bought a like $35 keyboard, like a Casio, and used that. And I used sound effects like ticking clock and stuff to keep time. And it was weird. I just wanted to make a record, and then I was out there by myself, so that's what I did. And it's cool. Some of the songs are good. I mean, I don't like the stuff that I used the drum thing from the Casio on there, but some of the songs are really cool, and I really like them. It was an interesting record, but yeah, so the songs that people wind up liking, I'm like, oh God, I hate that one.
I was gonna ask you, because just even looking on Spotify, I'm like, okay, some of the highest ones were, of course I went to those, and I was like, I mean, I could see why people like it. There's like moments of goth, there's moments of, that punk angst. And then your vocals, dude, man, what a fucking voice you have.
Yeah, I've been singing since I was a little kid, so
It's good. Really good.
Yeah, well, the new record, this vocals are pretty good. I was just listening to a mix that I gotta keep listening to before, and I was like, yeah, they sound pretty good. So it was just one of those things, and I like the same singers that Dunn liked, so that was another thing we had in common.
Yeah.
So I would wind up just doing like a Jim Morrison, Elvis kind of thing. That's because that's what I like, and I still do. But that's where we had that in common, because we used to laugh about doing the Elvis thing. Like sometimes I was like, oh, I heard you doing the Elvis thing tonight, or whatever. Just like running all the words together and sort of doing the syllable like, oh, I got some word or whatever, just going, so it used to make it laugh.
Dude, but you do it pretty well, man. Gotta say.
Yeah, whatever. I was the only one there,
But you did it your own way, man. I mean, you came off of, being with, a big band. Was it kind of easy leaving that, or was it tough?
Well, I was, it was hard because it been like 10, 11 years or whatever. I can't remember, or how long I'd been working with Glenn. And that's all I ever wanted to do. Once I got on the bus, I was just like, yeah, I'm never getting off this motherfucker. I was just like, yeah, I feel right at home. So yeah, it wasn't, it was tough, but we had done so much good work and so many great shows, and just like there was like one show out of all those years that I wasn't happy with, or happy with the way I played or whatever. So even now I don't feel like, oh, I got to get back on stage or whatever. Like, no, dude, I'm perfectly happy with that. I kind of miss the like the guys in the band and the crew guys that I got to be friends with. That part I missed, but like the traveling and all, wasn't that great after a while.
Oh man, I'm sure it fucking grows on you, like just.
You become like a zombie,
Yeah.
The longer you do it, the more you're just like in this automatic pilot mode, and you don't even remember what day it is and stuff. And
oof.
It's it's very easy to do. That's why Metallica goes on the road for like 2 years. You just go on autopilot.
Isn't that something? I mean, I just couldn't imagine. And you guys were fucking road warriors for a long time.
We didn't tour enough at the time. The bands like White Zombie and like Typo were on the road for like 2 years. And we were touring for like 6 weeks, and then we'd go home, and then we go back out again. Maybe like Glenn never wanted to stay on the road, so we didn't tour as much as we should have. And but those guys, the same thing. Typo and White Zombie both had the same sort of like breakthrough record, but it took them like almost 2 years to go past like 100,000 until it went to like gold and stuff, and that's because they worked their asses off,
right,
and stayed on the road, and that totally worked. And that's what I thought we should have done. We should have, because we weren't automatically just selling records. You know, we had to work on it, but we didn't work as hard as we should have, I thought, to really sell records and to, you know, make the band bigger. But at the time, it was just like, you know, that Glenn never really wanted to tour. He says, "Oh, well, I miss my cats."
So, have you seen the memes?
Yeah, but so, you know, I mean, one of our tour managers said early on, he goes, "You guys tour like you're Led Zeppelin." You know, and I was just like, "Yeah, I know," because it was just like, you know, it was just like, yeah, it was, we didn't, you know, we just did what we wanted, basically. And it was mostly like, because I don't know, Glenn had been doing it by that time. It seemed like a long time. And
yeah.
if it was, basically, if it's not fun, there's no reason to do it. You know, so if he didn't want to do a show and he wasn't having fun, I'd be like, dude, let's go home. You know, if you don't want to do this, then let's not do it. You know, so
there ain't no shame in that.
I'm surprised that he's still playing all this now, but except now he just flies in for the show, or what, he just does a lot of one-offs,
yeah,
here and there, which is good, because that's what I would do too if I was, you know, I can't see getting on a bus doing it, you know, when you're getting that much older, you know. But he never seemed to, like, he wasn't having that much fun. So it was kind of like this, why do it if it's not fun? You know, we weren't selling tons of records. There wasn't a lot of pressure. There never was. So, you know, so that was pretty much it. I only left the band because John was leaving the band. And I was just like, you know, after Chuck left, it was just no fun anymore. And Glenn wasn't having any fun. So I didn't really want to be there. It's kind of, whole thing just ran its course. And it was just like time to move on to something else, you know. So, but it was great, though. I loved every minute of it.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. Absolutely. I mean, those 4 records will always be the finest records, in my opinion, of that legacy. And I'm sure a lot of other folks feel that way too. Everybody out there in Black Flame Land, what you gave us. I know you said, you know, you're just a bass player, but man, as a drummer, I would have died to have you as a bass player, because that shit was tight. Your sound was awesome.
I love playing with other people. There must be 3 or 4 different drummers we played on this last record and stuff. It's just, it's so great when you can lock in, or you're working on something and it just feels right. You know, it's nothing better than that. It was so, and playing with Chuck was so easy. You know, he could just play anything, and where he would just come up with the right thing. Maybe he thought about it when he went home or while he was doing it, but it always seemed pretty effortless to me that he always seemed to play the right thing, you know. And John could just play with anything, you know, anything he wanted, but he went home and really worked on it. You know, he spent time. You know, I was the only one that didn't practice. I didn't give a shit.
Oh, brother, I'll tell you, that interview you gave on the first Danzig home video will always be my favorite that I've ever seen you do.
Yeah, well, that's because I was the one asking all the questions in all the other interviews. They just dubbed me out and put somebody else in. But so they had nobody to interview me. So I said, well, being a photographer, I said, there's a really cool light. There's this cage downstairs. I don't know what it's for or whatever, but shoot me in there. There's a really good lighting and the way the bars go and stuff. And they weren't asking me any good questions, so I kind of like winged the whole thing. And that's the way I was at the time. I'm not that person anymore, but
right.
That's the way I was then, 24 years old or whatever I was, you know, just being like a dick, you know. That's just it. You know?
I thought it was bad fucking ass. I'm like, that's the attitude that, like, I don't know, that I would take. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's the attitude that me and Glenn had. We used to say, it's me and you against the world, bro.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's it. The band was everything. And we just looked at it. And the Misfits did that too. That's where the attitude really came from. Those guys thought they were the best, the greatest band on the planet.
Fuck
Even
yeah.
back then, playing to 50 people, you know. So with them playing to arenas now, and all these people never saw them, seeing them, it just makes so much sense to me, because that's what Jerry thought from day one, you know.
Yep.
So I'm so glad they're getting to do that, because they should have been doing it 40 years ago. They should have been playing the Garden, you know, because they were great then. You know, it just took everybody so long to figure it out.
You know, and I blame pop culture for that.
But if it wasn't for pop culture, they wouldn't be selling out the arenas.
Well, that is true. That is true. But it's just like, how did people not know back then how fucking badass all the stuff that you guys, you know, as a collective have done? It's like you know, took 20 years for people to go, oh shit, this stuff is really fucking good.
It's all just timing. That's all. It just wasn't the right time.
That's because y'all were ahead of your time.
When records come out and like things like that, like you have to be like right on the edge of something happening, and everybody starts to go, hey, and that's where you get like MTV, like White Zombie. Totally, if it wasn't for MTV, nobody would have heard of them. They were a great
That's
band.
True.
They're really cool, but they were too weird for like mainstream America, until they started seeing them on TV every day. Start going, hey, that's pretty cool, you know. And then they start selling all the records and stuff. We just didn't have that. It wasn't available for the Misfits or Samhain, you know. Mm-hmm. So it was just all timing. But instead of just sitting there and going, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, we just went out and did it.
Fuck yeah, man. And that's the attitude, like I said, that should be the attitude that every band coming out right now that's in the trenches, because my show has always been about highlighting the best in underground entertainment, because otherwise, without the mainstream, without huge promoters pushing them, nobody knows who the fuck they are. So they know that when they see my show, I'm going to bring somebody, you know, some band or an actor, actress, director, you know, that otherwise you don't know. Because, you know, I also do the indie horror thing too. So, you know, and you guys were kind of the epitome of that to me, and always have been. You did things your own way. And it's like today, bands just don't have that kind of thinking. And I wish they would. So hopefully everybody out there in Black Flame Land takes a fucking page, even just a paragraph of what you've shared to heart. I bet you, you know, the music scene would be so much different.
Well, not for nothing, I've heard some people that I admired in my life, you know, as maybe in my younger years, that might have stuck with me. Somebody said something, I was like, yeah, that thing right there, that makes sense to me, and I still remember it. So yeah, maybe somebody could say, oh, I love one of those nuggets of wisdom that just falls trippingly from EERIE's tongue. Well,
they should.
It's a philosophy of life. You know, but no, I think it's important, and especially people who are like done stuff, you know, or like, you know, when you listen to your grandfather or something, it's like, yeah, well, he was in the war, so maybe we should shut up and ask him what he thinks, or something like that. You know, it's no substitute for experience, and that's, you know, if somebody wants to know, I have no problem telling them, you know.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next big thing that's really good, you know. That I think it's awesome. You know, people should just keep playing and just keep picking up guitars, and, you know, rather than, I don't know, just doing everything on computers. I still love guitar bands, you know.
Fuck yeah, absolutely. Do you have any current favorites?
No, I mostly listen to a lot of old stuff, because there's so much stuff that I have to catch up on. Even like in my lifetime, all the great music that's come out since I've been born. I was just talking to somebody about it. Like, yeah, I'm so glad I was alive for this, you know. But there's so much stuff from before then, just like old movies that I haven't seen too, you know, either. The only thing I hear a lot of being in the South is a lot of really good underground country, like just really just a guy in his guitar, or some really super talented players just doing some great stuff, you know. So I hear a lot of that, and I listen to a lot of that. But I was just listening to like Masters of Reality by Black Sabbath. Like,
oh, probably their best record ever.
Oh, I listened to Paranoid. It's probably my favorite one because I like Fairies Wear Boots the most.
Oh, it's such a great track too.
Yeah, but I was just like, oh, I've got these. Everywhere I go, I take a little file of CDs like an old man, you know. And so I popped.
Nothing wrong with that.
Masters of Reality today, and I was just like digging that. It was all gloomy and rainy out, and I was just like, this is perfect.
Oh, trust me, you know, Into the Void is definitely, you know, the doom genre, which is really coming up even more now than ever. And I'm glad to be a part of that. Even late in my career, I'm about to be 47. I don't give a fuck. I'll play doom till I die. That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, if you like it, you know, fuck everybody else. Just do what you want.
Absolutely, man. And I really loved your Kinda Country album.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks.
What gave you the idea to go that way?
I don't know. I've just been writing songs like ever since Danzig. I started working on songwriting because I tried it back in the Misfits, you know, Samhain days. Mm-hmm. I always wrote stuff down, but I hadn't really started thinking about making them into songs. And eventually I could at least make out songs and do a melody, even just with the bass and put them on a cassette or whatever. So I've been writing songs for all that time. And then I got to the way that I could record all the instruments and play drums and stuff. So I had a bunch of songs on tapes and just in the catalog or in the book. And so I had a bunch of songs that I was working on. And I was just like, well, these all sound kind of country to me, you know, like they're not gothy, they're not punk rock, they're not really blues, they're kind of bluesy, but they seem kind of country to me. And, you know, so I just recorded this batch of songs that I liked. And people kept saying, well, what's it called or what's it like? I said, well, it sounds kind of country, so that's why I called it kind of country, you know. It's the only thing I could think of to say. And I didn't care because it was supposed to be a record. After Bad Dream, there was supposed to be another record that was going to be sort of the bridge the gap from this gothy stuff to more dark country, you know, like more melodic, but more talking about different things and maybe singing a different way, or I don't know, playing a little twangy, or I don't know. But that record was lost on when a hard drive crashed. I lost the whole record.
Oh, man.
I put out the Spider Cider record, which is just some punk rocky kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That I also had. I was just like, well, I've got all these great punk rock songs, and I should just put out a record of that stuff. I didn't care if anybody wanted it or not. I was just going to do it. So I did that, and then when I moved to Pennsylvania, I was staying with my folks after my divorce. I was just writing these kind of songs, and I was in the woods, and I just, you know, they just came out like that. So then I moved down to Nashville, and I've been, you know, in the South ever since. And everybody I know is a great player, and it's so inspiring, and there's music everywhere. That I was just like, I want to do a record here with people who live here, who play. And it's just a collection of people, like friend of mine, friend of his. Oh, this guy knows this guy. And, you know, so everybody just comes in. So the next record's going to be more along the lines of kind of country. We could call it also kind of country 2, you know, as in TOO or 2, I don't know. But yeah, it's like, I don't care. I just write the songs. And Glenn said the same thing. We used to talk about songwriting once I started to become a better musician, and I could, you know, I'd ask him things, and he would say, well, I just write. And he would go, oh, that song's not right for the Misfits, but it'll be right for my next band. Like, he was already planning that. So he says, oh, when I was working with Ruben or hanging out with Ruben, he goes, I'm recording Roy Orbison. You got a song for him? And Glenn's like, yeah, I got a Roy Orbison song. So that means he had written this Roy Orbison song just to write it and put it aside because it wasn't right for him. Right. It might be right for someone else, or you know. So you just do that. You just write songs
And you say, oh, maybe I'll give that to so-and-so, and you never get around to calling them or whatever. So, and he says, you got a Johnny Cash song to Glenn? He goes, yeah, I got a Johnny Cash song. So it's just, you write something and you go, wow, that doesn't fit this record, or doesn't fit my style. So you put it on the shelf, and so that's what happened. You keep writing, and you'd be like, well, the songs are really coming out like this or that, and that's just the way you go. You don't sit down like, some people who have to do a record every year or every 2 years, and you have to do what the people want. So I got to sit down and write a record like this, or like whatever band I'm in, you just write and you record how you want, and I don't care if anybody buys the record. I mean, I'm no worse off if nobody buys it or nobody likes it. I don't give a shit. If I like it, that's all that counts.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's not about that. It's just about getting out, musically what you want to, and you're passionate about it. And if it reaches somebody, great. If it don't, shit. You don't feel bad about that.
Yeah, that's the attitude Glenn and I had from the beginning. It was always about that, and it's also, to get the songs out of your head so you can move on. Like you gotta record them, and if they come out, great. But if not, at least they're out of your head, and you move on to the next thing. That's why guys like Prince were constantly recording, because he couldn't shut it off. He's just like, okay, I've got 10 records in the vault, but I'm moving on to the next thing. Mick Jagger doesn't even like to talk about the old records. He only wants to talk about what's happening right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just a way to get it out. And, yeah, it'd be great if everybody wanted to buy it. But like I made a joke to some guy on a podcast. I said, I'm in the same position as Paul McCartney. He goes, well, how do you figure that? I go, because he don't care if he sells any records either.
That's so fucking true.
Yeah, I'm like this. I'm just doing what I want. And tomorrow's another day. And I put it out. The guy I'm doing the record with is the producer who plays guitar on it. He said, I want to get this out so we can go on to the next one. So it's just like, that's it. And I just want to keep moving and putting out another record, So some of this stuff is going to trip people out. And all the Danzig Misfit Samhain people are going to be, what the hell is this?
But that's cool, though.
That's good. Yeah. I don't, I'm not making the same record over and over and over.
No.
Again, so, and I don't think anybody should do that. I mean, I love bands. So some of my favorite bands have made the same record for 20 years, but I just listened to the first four. Oh, here's that first four number again.
When can we expect another record from you?
No, it's like I've got like 3 or 4 mixes, and there's probably going to be like 10 songs. So if I can get back in the studio with the guy who's very busy, who's mixing it, I hope to have it out by the end of the year, but nice. I don't know. So it's close. It's like it's all tracked. It's just also there's like I got to listen to some just board stuff to see if there's any vocals that need to be redone. Other than that, everything else should be fine. So, it could come out anytime, but it'll come out when it's done,
Fuck yeah, man. When you feel it's ready, that's what counts. So everybody out there in Black Flame Land, you can find EERIE on Spotify, all the platforms, all the stuff, and tell them where they can find you.
Oh, well, anybody can email me, at EERIEVon777 @gmail. You email me, I answer you back. That's the way it goes. I've been doing the mail since 1983, so it doesn't matter. And also I'm on Facebook. I got a fan page, and I got my regular personal page that my mother's on. and all my relatives are on. But yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's probably just EERIEVon777. And I don't do anything else. So that's it. Yeah, you can actually get me, I mean, you're proof. What did you do? Email me, and I said sure, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, still shocked as shit. That is called being humble, folks.
I mean, you know, the older you get, the more people want to talk about what you did when you were half as old or 30, 40 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, well, you better get it before I can't remember it anymore.
For sure.
So,
but yeah,
and that's fine. Everybody likes to talk about themselves, so I'm no exception.
there's just so much to learn from you, and you know what you've given the underground tonight is just so much. You know, it was your life, you lived it. Most of us could only hope to be remembered. We're talking about records that have spanned 30 some plus years, and people still want to hear those songs. And you were a part of that.
Well, that was the plan. I remember Ruben said he wanted us to be one of those bands that was like classic, like the Doors, like Led Zeppelin, where people would be listening to your music like 30, 40 years later. And we were like, yeah, whatever, you know. And that's why the first record has the big gatefold. That was like a definite nod to the 70s and those kind of classic bands. So it kind of worked out that way. You know, so it's good, and the songs are good, and you know, people, you know, seem to the music was there for them, and really good times and bad, and a lot, you know, I hear it every day. Oh, you got me through high school, things like that, and that's
you got me through life.
That's good, you know. Yeah,
especially as a musician.
That's really good, and it, you know, like. It's a simple thing, but my mother would say, well, if you could make somebody smile, then why not do it? You know? So,
that's awesome.
So it's like, yeah, you know, if it takes a phone call or something to talk to somebody or to do this thing, and other people, if it makes them happy, why not, you know?
Well, you did just that, man. So definitely looking forward to your new stuff coming out. You guys know where to find Eerie. His photography is fucking first rate. That was actually one thing I forgot to ask you is, you know, what kind of got you into the photography end of things?
Yeah, I should have I'm still working on the next book, and it should have been out by now, but it'll come out too. I'm just follow up to the Misery Obscura. But my dad got a camera when I was like 8 years old, and it was like a nice Nikon. It was good, you know. So when he started taking pictures, and I was like, you know, we'd go to you know, some event or something. We used to go. He liked the road racing, so we go to watch people race cars and stuff. And so he would take pictures. So then he just showed me how. He said, "Oh, look, do this, do this." So I cut doing it, and I had those little Instamatic cameras you get for Christmas, you know, Kodak in a little yellow box, and I started taking pictures with them and trying to make this little camera look and take these pictures that were really cool, and you know, and just kept going from there. And then a friend of mine in middle school had a dark room in his basement, so he showed me how to print, and we had photography in middle school, and it just kept going and going. And I still do it. It's just something you like to be. It's very close to music. If you can get the shot that you see in your head and get it on film, it's like getting the song out of your head onto tape or whatever, you know. So it's just one of those things that I developed, and I just kept doing. And you know, if I didn't, I never would have met Glenn, and we never would have started a band, and then you know, all this other stuff wouldn't have happened. So
exactly, you know. And you got a great eye for it.
For a reason.
Everything always does, brother. That's for damn sure. Glad you're still doing stuff. And we super appreciate you here at Black Flame Entertainment, Reapers Underground. Everybody in the comment section who has been fucking amazeballs, I might add, for taking the time to chat with us tonight. Is there anything that you would like to say to not only your fans, but new fans you didn't even know about? What would you like to leave with them?
Oh, well, you know, I think it's great that all the people, you know, supported the legacy, as I call it, all the bands, and everybody, you know, outside the bands or former members and all that. People have always been really good to everybody, and I appreciate that. I know they all do too. And to anybody new, yeah, start at the beginning. You know, buy the right Misfit records. Go out and buy Walk Among Us, Earth AD, Legacy Brutality. Buy Static Age, buy 12 Hits from Hell if you can find it, and then go around and do, you know, the compilations and stuff. And then just check out Samhain, and then just keep going, you know, and check out the Danzig stuff, you know, and just maybe you'll dig it. Maybe you'll start a band. Maybe it'll influence you how to be cool, you know, keep the flag flying, you know. But yeah, I certainly appreciate it. Anybody who cares, who wants to talk, or even knows what bands were, you know, was happening, you know, it's great.
Absolutely. And we absolutely love and appreciate what you've done. Definitely, if you got a few more moments, hang out afterwards. Thank everybody out there in the comment section. You guys were fucking amazing. Everybody was cool. And just a wealth of awesome information from a fucking legend. And I mean that in every sense of the word. So as you are laying it down and you got, you know, some visions of Samhain, Danzig, EERIE in your head, always stay heavy.